Thank you for staying with us. Let's begin with insurgency in Yobe State. Barely 5 days after Boko Haram terrorists killed 10 persons in a beer parlor in Gaidam, an improvised explosive device has exploded, killing 1 person and injuring 7 others in another drinking joint in Gashua, the headquarters of Badly local government area of the state. This explosion, what's it about? This insurgents, they don't want people to drink, and in beer parlor in Gaidam, and another one in Gashua.
Yes, we are beginning to see a nasty and very dangerous trend. Before now, Boko Haram elements could not spread their tentacles to Taraba State. Even at the height of its powers, Boko Haram didn't have active cells in Taraba State, and they were not known to carry out attacks in Taraba State. But ISWAP has claimed responsibility for the bomb attack that happened last week. So that should send dangerous signals to the security agencies that as we are closing in on them in Borno State, in Adamawa State, and Yobe, they are planning to spread their tentacles beyond those 3 states. Now, to add to that, before now, Boko Haram operated in only 2 local governments of Yobe State. Only 2 local governments. And this Bade local government, the home local government of the Senate President, was not one of the local governments where Boko Haram ever launched an attack. Now they've claimed, they've launched this attack, they've attacked drinking dens. That's to send a signal that they are trying to spread their tentacles. They probably now have cells in those places, and that portends serious danger. Does it mean now that when we go to the north and we feel bored in our hotels, we can walk into a beer parlor and have a drink or 2? Because Taraba State, it's not, if you told me that this could happen, I would have argued. But that's where they've gone now, to kill people in a beer parlor. Clearly, this was clearly a terrorist attack, because they didn't do it for the money. They just take people's lives. So we've got to improve our capacity for surveillance, and we should realize that all is not Uhuru yet. We still have battles ahead to fight against these undesirable elements.
DKB, I thought the rates of attack of Boko Haram that we succeeded in recent months in de-escalating, the attacks.
But even with that, I think nobody will be surprised that they are trying to spread their tentacles to areas where they think these are soft targets. Because like you said, this area is not known for attacks. It's very easy for somebody to move in and cause maximum damage. And that we are talking about it is proof that they succeeded in bringing this to the attention of Nigerians, that they are indeed still very potent. It does not take away from the success of the army they've recorded in Borno and parts of Yobe Adamawa, but it's just to open new theaters of conflict so that they'll give the impression they are still as potent as they were 3, 4, 5 years ago.
So while we are dealing with Boko Haram, we're still dealing with bandits in other parts of the north?
Yes. One can say with certainty that the days of terror of Boko Haram or ISWA, whatever they choose to call themselves, in the northeast are numbered. They are the ones even killing one another now, because during the weekend, the Shekau group and ISWAP, They fought against one another inside Sambisa, and some commanders were killed, and a good number of the fighters on both sides died. So it's like what the Yorubas call Onfura Logunje. So they are the ones killing one another now. They are struggling amongst themselves for preeminence, and they are killing one another. But we have dealt decisively with them. We have dealt terribly with them in that theater, that in the northeast theater of war. And the evidence is there for all to see that their rate of attacks, either on communities or on the armed forces, have gone down. Rate of attack has gone down tremendously. You hardly even read about those things again, because their capacity to launch those attacks
has been diminished. Yeah.
You know, when Boko Haram resorted to using these long-range rockets the other day, firing at civilian areas, it was in response to the loss of capacity to freely move around in their gun trucks, moving around. These days, there are drones. The Tucanos are there. The ground attack helicopters,
The
they are there.
jets.
We still use the, what is it called? The Alpha Jet. The French, the old war horse from France that has been decommissioned in their country. We are still using it. We use it both as trainer fighter jet, as well as
Deploy
for
it to
bombing
combat,
raids on these
Still
people.
working.
They're still working, yes. At least I saw them, you know. So, in spite of that, we are now seeing them trying to go to new places where you would not expect that they cooperate. That is to tell you that, look, there are still dangers ahead, and we have to respond to that
Quickly.
in the right way before they spread beyond even the north. They could even be thinking of coming down south.
All right.
That's a possibility.
Most times, it takes a disaster to jolt us into fixing things after they are not right among us. After Friday's night explosion at an illegal refinery in Ohaji Egbema local government area of Imo State, security agents have begun a search for owners and operators of illegal refineries in the states. Meanwhile, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, said the death toll in the explosion has risen to 110. GKB, what is happening?
What is happening is what the Americans will call hiding in plain sight. We know about these illegal refineries a long time. Try to reverse Imo, especially that access, but yes, reverse Imo. And they are not hidden. They are not something that you find deep inside the bush. Most of them are roadside, and that's why Port Harcourt is not covered with SUF, because of the things that are happening. Your intro has said it all. We tend to be reactive, not proactive. And this, of course, is the danger that we face as a people, because people don't take intelligence seriously, either for lack of manpower or simply because they don't care. Because remember that even in rivers, they've been warned that this might happen over the course of the last 1 year. And now we are looking at southern Imo, and it's happening. And we are now trying to clean out what everybody who lives in the area are aware of do exist. So what we need to do is that we have to pay more emphasis to intelligence and not wait for bad things to happen before we move in. We are too reactive. It's not really in our best interest.
Actually, this is the effect of unemployment, the effect of people very careless in the community. And you see, like, the number of people that, I'm sure this 110, this number will increase.
Yes.
The number of people that actually,
Some of them ran into the river in the hope that they could be protected, but they still got killed. My issue with our people is that, or with the government and community leaders as well, is they know, or they knew that this illegal refinery was there. They knew the leader. But what were they doing? You didn't arrest the sponsor. or the person who owns the illegal refinery. It is after this thing had happened that we are now issuing
looking for
a statement declaring him wanted. And you are saying if he likes himself, he should surrender himself to the security agency. Of course, he's not going to surrender himself unless we get hold of him. He knows that he's going to jail, and he will try his best
to get his way out of Nigeria.
He will try his best to get out of this country from the illegal money that he has made from stealing our oil. There are consequences for oil theft. There have been occasions when these guys broke pipelines. The most devastating of all was the Jersey pipeline. The Jersey pipeline that they broke led to the killing of more than 300 Nigerians, burnt beyond recognition. Yet, after that, we've had other disasters, similar disasters, before this one. The question is, what have we done? We know that people are operating illegal refineries. We know. But why have we made it possible for them to get away with stealing from our country? We've got to stop them.
Because you need a kind of investment.
We've got to stop them.
Into this.
We've got to stop them. You can't be stealing from the country. You can't. And there are even consequences to the environment, to even the individuals who are stealing crude oil. Since 1998, when we had the Jersey disaster, we have had several others. We was talking about Port Harcourt being covered by soot. Of course, it is a consequence of this because they are constantly burning. They are constantly burning. And when they burn, it damages the environment. You see black smoke everywhere. It's covering parts of Port Harcourt, and people are having respiratory diseases. So the government ought to stop these refineries from working. We know where they are. I know that the Navy has been doing its best in this area.
The community leaders, they will know their location.
Everybody.
In fact, I saw a story where the Navy was said to have impounded 1 million liters of crude oil. 1 million liters. Look, the stealing of Nigerian crude has serious international dimensions, because if you steal 1 million liters, where are you going to sell it?
They will have
people waiting to buy these things and then take them abroad. Because it was a ship. It was a ship that the naval officers yes. So where are we going? They're taking it out of the country. So the level of oil theft has to be addressed, especially this illegal bunkering that is happening. This bunkering that is happening, illegal running of refineries. We have to address it. Otherwise, this kind of disasters will not stop.
GKB, I don't know. It's not a big deal again.
Yeah.
But the cost of human life is something that is quite worrisome.
I'll tell you something personally. I've met people before who told me that they are bunkerers. That's how flagrant that it has become. And I live at Abule Egba. About 3 years ago, if you remember, there was this massive explosion. Yeah.
More than 3 years ago.
And if you saw it, you will fear God, because the fire was moving through the channels and linking up neighborhoods. You don't have any neighborhoods that will take. If there is a man that owns a big petrol station in our area, had to commit the ultimate sacrifice, because all his investments got bought, about 150 cars. He brought in 2 days earlier. Yet, the route that was cleared by NNPC, including the one that ran through the middle of a church. So whenever you think they are praying to God, they are helping themselves. Has now been rebuilt. And I think they asked me, I'll take them there. It's still at Abule Egba at Okoba. It's there. I was there 3 days ago and I was aghast. Because what happened 3 years ago was so massive that people are not even willing to move near anything of that. But now the buildings are back. The churches have sprung up again, and the land that they demarcated, that this is the pipeline, has not been covered up with shops.
And they will still be stealing.
Sometimes we blame government for everything. It's very quick for us to blame government for everything. But even Nigerian citizens, we are not so patriotic. You see NNPC right of way, you see where you have restrictions and everything, people will still build, develop that area, and destruction is always there, that don't come near this place. But people will still bring this thing to buy, sell there, and from there, these guys will start.
So it's wherever you have pipelines, young people think it's an opportunity to go and steal crude oil, or even refined PMS.
Not looking at the.
I was told that there was a time the NNPC, because in the past we used to send petroleum products to the depots through the pipelines. We have since stopped, and that is what is compounding the problem that we have. We are by tankers now to come all the way from the north,
burning our roads.
Yes, destroy our roads in the process. These roads are not meant to carry dead weight. They all come here.
They come to Lagos
and then travel all the way. We even created funds to take care of their
petroleum
going and coming, so that we can have the same price across board. That was why they created that petroleum equalization fund. Now, this NNPC sent word out that it was going to send petrol through the pipelines to the depots. What did we see? They first sent ordinary water. To tell you that these boys got information through their agents in NNPC and other places, they broke the pipelines at different points, hoping to scoop petrol. It turned out that it was water. So that was how they eventually didn't bother to. It was the former Minister of State that said this. Not even I was there, listening to him at an event saying it, that they just tested the waters by pumping water, pumping ordinary water, and our people had already breached the pipelines in different places, hoping that that appointed day to pump petrol had come. In the end, it was ordinary water. From there, they knew that it makes no sense to try this. If we tried petrol, that's how they would have breached it, and it's possible that even in the process there could be a disaster. That's why we have depots here and there. The reasons for having those depots are defeated because these guys are simply breaking pipelines.
Is that terrible?
In future, we must we must look at the pipeline architecture and go further down, go by far into the soil, so that these people won't be able to access petroleum products through the pipelines. Some of them who also break gas pipelines. It's not gas that they are looking for.
That's so dangerous.
It's not gas they are looking for. They don't know the difference between gas pipeline and. So when they breach the gas pipeline, they ensure that gas that Egme thermal station and other gas-fired power plants should use, gas won't get to them. Nigerians will now hear that, there is what was it called? System failure. That's what causes it sometimes. Because if majority of the power stations don't have access to gas at any given time, it's going to lead to system failure, because there has to be a level of supply of gas before they will be able to. So it's just a big problem. Young people risking their lives for a little money. How much does this Okenze, or was the owner of the illegal refinery, how much does he pay them? Just peanuts. Now they've lost their lives.
Now,
burnt beyond
he might still
recognition.
be alive. His children will still be alive somewhere and everything.
He would be alive. He would not join them now. They feel now. Why will he join them? He won't join them now.
That's not his
He
job.
doesn't have to go there. As long as they are bringing the money for him, his agents will be there, and I'm sure a lot of his agents will have died too. 110 people. It's a national disaster, just as the president said. That's a huge number to lose.
I'm telling you, 110. And I'm sure these guys
and it will be higher than that.
It will be higher. This ahead. We'll see. Our laws make provision for 3 methods of choosing candidates by political parties for elections: direct, indirect, and consensus methods. But most political parties are clamoring for consensus arrangement in the race for the 2023 presidential election. The move for a consensus candidate among the northern presidential aspirants in the People's Democratic Party has hit the rocks. Governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwal, and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar have rejected the arrangement brokered by the supervision of former military president General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. This was after reports that former President of the Senate Bukola Saraki and Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State were announced as joint consensus aspirants of the party. Jide, what is this?
Something, usually when you have this kind of arrangement, it's not meant to produce a number of persons. So for people like Tambua, they found it strange. They thought the consensus arrangement will yield one person. But now they are saying IBB and a few Northern leaders, not necessarily the Northern Elders Forum, because the Northern Elders Forum has come out to say no.
No, we're not part of this.
We are not part of this. A few Northern elders could come together. That's not the first time. Remember the committee headed by, I think, Adamuchi Roma back then. I think it was before the 2011 election. They came up at that time. They chose, I think it was Atiku that they supported at that time. So it is similar to what has happened. What I thought the PDP wanted to do was, yes, we have a long list. Let's encourage the pruning down of this long list through consensus. Let the aspirants agree amongst themselves that, okay, this is a long list. Let's bring it down by any way we can. The party is reluctant to go into the primaries with as many as 18 of them that are in the race now. So, because that will be too unwieldy and difficult to manage, so they said they wanted to prune down the figure. But there are different ways of pruning down this figure. There could be shadow elections at the level of the caucuses. If that is what you've opted for, then it has to be clear to everyone that is the thing. But people like Tambua do not understand why they discuss consensus. They felt that it should lead to the emergence of one person, and then they are told that 2 persons have now come out. And of course, with Tambua appearing to have been shot out, he does not like the idea. So he said, no, that's not what we agreed.
Chikebi, so ultimately, a lot of Nigerians are waiting for who is going to become the candidate of these 2 major political parties, APC and the People's Democratic Party, because we might likely to have the next president from those 2 major parties. So the process might be quite competitive and rancorous.
Well, you have to understand that if you are playing for good teams, chances are one of you will lift the trophy at the end of the season. But it doesn't really mean that you cannot try your luck elsewhere. I think what really happened there was that the war consensus was being thrown around so much. Well, what they are trying to do is basically to cut down the number of aspirants to a manageable size. They are not asking them to make input. Some people like Babangida will probably sit down And after all said and done, they could not go beyond these two people. Maybe among their rank, some people said they wanted Sariki, some wanted Bala Mohammed.
They had 10 points.
And they got to the point that they said, let's throw both of them into the ring. Let the best man win. And that, of course, leaves a window for people like Tambuwa and Atiku to go against the system that originally signed for. Because they must have agreed to this before they go into the thing.
It was reported that they were part of the meeting,
so
and that they saw nothing wrong in
a consensus person. Because if they had done that, if one person had demerged, this would have been just noise making from people who lost out. But now PDP has created a window for them to genuinely claim that this does not reflect what they agreed to do. And that to me is the danger.
But this one is not PDP's decision.
It's not that.
Just some elders.
Just in the northern, also within
I just know that even northern aspirants.
We seem to
they
have
are not
turned,
the PDP aspirants.
as in
just the northern elements.
The dictionary meaning of consensus, we seem to have, in Nigeria, it's beginning to turn to something else.
No, consensus is not democratic. It's not democracy. When a group of people will then take the decision for everyone
and force everybody
and
to
then call it consensus. It's not consensus. I mean, it's ridiculous to hear people talk about consensus when this was just sharing of spoils amongst governors. There were more than 70 positions on offer during the APC convention, and governors shared these positions among themselves. The only thing they considered was the chairmanship to the president. After a lot of haggling and haggling, they didn't simply lay down and say, Mr. President, take the... No. They resisted. Ultimately, they allowed him to take that. They now shared the other positions among themselves. The governor will be told that, okay, you are the one to bring the woman leader. So whether that woman leader has not been in the party for long or not, it doesn't matter. They have given him the mandate to go and produce it. So he goes and produces that person. Another one is told, okay, for the Southwest, you are the one to bring you are the governor to bring the woman leader. The governor then goes, picks a woman, and then another governor is told, you are the one to bring the youth leader. The Southwest youth leader. He goes to bring someone. No other governor will contest that because they had agreed among themselves to zone that position to that particular governor. This was what happened in the APC. So all of the shedding of tears that you saw, the extent of the pain that people feel that, look, this is not democracy now. And there's no way you can tell me that the choice should always be made by the people, not the leaders of the people. I mean, when the choice is made by the leaders, in this case the governors, and the people are effectively shut out of the decision making, it is not democracy. There is no way by which anyone can convince me that it is democracy. When people campaign for more than, let's say, even years, spent hefty sums of money,
traveled all over the country,
travel around the country, risk their lives, and continue to hide the price. And then some governors sat together with the president, and then they told the president, okay, you can bring the national chairman. We will allow you. And the president said, okay, for honoring me, it's just this one that I need. The rest, go and decide amongst yourself. So whether the president even has candidates, as we later saw, some of the people who are legendarily close to legendary friends of the president, they lost out because the governors were still smarting from being made to concede the chairmanship, and they were not going to concede any other position.
And they carried it over to neck.
So that is the thing. That's the thing. It's not democracy. It's not. How do you, going by the definition of democracy, how do you tell me that deciding for me
is good for me
and force-feeding me the decision that you have taken is democracy? I mean, it will question my education if I were to be convinced that that is democracy. It's not democracy. If if it is consensus, it has to be seen to have been arrived at by unanimity. The unanimity should not be in doubt.
That's the key word.
Nobody must dissent.
But in our kind of consensus, it is far away from unanimity. And that's why the consensus that people are banding about is just a case of powerful governors. And people just forcing their decisions, forcing their choices on the people. And thank God the president said it the other day that don't impose candidates.
Unpopular.
Yes. And I hope the president can walk the talk on the issue of the national chairman, the presidential candidate. The president should walk the talk. Since he has spoken to his party men that don't impose and don't frustrate strong candidates out of the race, the president should let the choice of the people prevail in the presidential primaries.
Lead by example. Yeah.
Yes, because you have told them to do that. Now you have to lead from the front, even in achieving that. Let's have the person that the overwhelming majority of our people want. Let that person be the person that emerges.
Okay.
Not consensus.
I have Case Andrew from Owerri. Thank you for joining us, Case Andrew.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Good evening,
Good evening.
Good evening.
BKB.
Andrew.
Sir, Case Andrew, I'm calling you from Owerri. I want to speak on the unfortunate incident that happened in my state at my local government. You see, in as much as I'm not going to justify this illegality, but like the gentleman has actually said, governments must learn to take full responsibility. Sir, there is no how. We live in this state, and we have river states, all these close by states. There is no how governments will claim ignorance, both at the federal and the state, even armed forces in this state. There is no way the civil defense, the military, they can claim ignorance that they are not aware. Like you rightly said, these people do not have to do these things. And look at, we've lost, this is the last count, 110. We are not even sure. Look at the houses, look at the place. And unfortunately, not at this moment, our governor has not visited that side. But I want to say, can our government start doing something? See, you have not created jobs. I'm not saying we should embark on this kind of job creation, but can we actually look at these young people? We have an issue of refining oil in this country, crude. Can we actually look at these modular refineries, these illegal refineries, and legalize them? So we can actually do this thing in this country, because I think out of fear, not using the right equipment might still be the cause of this. Elementary chemistry has actually taught us refining crude is as easy as even it is easier than doing a fibroid operation. It is simple distillation and firing, heating up. Can we actually learn how to even bring these people? We know where they are. Nobody can even claim ignorance in river state, in this oil producing state. Can we actually start up a conversation? Young men and women, please do not do this an example for you, but let us help you.
Thank you for your contribution.
He's very passionate about it.
Yes. So when we are looking at this, they still have the issue of zoning to grapple with.
Yeah. Well, I coined the word in 2003 when the governors moved against Obasanjo's second term. I call it gubernatorial. Government by the governors, for the governors, for the favor of the governors. And almost 20 years later, the thing has gotten worse. Because it seems that governors, past and present, see themselves as a special bridge above the rest of us. And so therefore, they arrogate to themselves the power to decide for us things that they think are good for us. And that's what happened during the convention that Jide was talking about. Because you can see some people who are physically distressed because they know what they've put into it to become national officers. And they are not even allowed to give a speech. They are not allowed their 5 minutes of fame. Some know they will lose. But I keep referring to the original convention that brought in Obasanjo in 1999. Despite the backroom dealings, they ensured that the voting was transparent. So that even if you want to complain,
That one that Tommy Kimi campaign.
that one, Obasanjo. That's all is required. Background, we know that people have made suggestions, taking care of delegates and all that whatnot. But give them the ability. That 5 minutes, people travel from Yobe, from Lagos, from Rivers to Abuja, just to cast votes. That's their 1 minute to shine. And you took away that from them and want them to remain loyal. I think we need to do something about our democracy and stop these shenanigans called consensus.
Now, ultimately, this might even affect the unity within the party, cohesion within the party, and this political party, they might go into instability before the general election. If we continue
I think it's not by force to do consensus. If it is clear that majority of the people want, the contestants themselves, the aspirants want an open election, so give it to them. If that's what they want. Because we've had people like the governor of Rivers saying that even over his dead body will he agree to consensus. Because people appear to see consensus as just a tool by which people are discouraged from contesting against people that they can even defeat. So people fancy their chances. Once you talk to them about consensus, they will start thinking, oh, you want to use this to put your own favored person there. So the people would rather have a contest. So let the party forget about the idea of consensus and let the people go and slug it out. That way, whoever wins will be the candidate that everyone will have hand his victory. Not to get victory through the back door because some governors love you and all that. No. What if the people don't like the choice of those governors? Have we not seen that before? So that you are the leader of the people does not mean that you should always decide for the people. Let the people, democracy derives its power from the people. So let the people exercise their franchise. It's clear now that I've even had Peter Obi himself saying that he does not want consensus. So who now wants consensus among these governors in the PDP? Who wants consensus now? Because it appears that there is so much distrust. There's so much distrust.
That's
so
the
they are not prepared to yield ground to one another. You can't tell Wike to accept consensus. You can't tell Tambua to accept consensus. So how many people do you now want to convince? So if that's the case, let them go and contest. The world will see the true winner in the final analysis. So, and I'm sure even for we are talking about PDP now, I'm sure if it were to be the case in the APC, is the same pushback that consensus will get. Some people will not agree to anything like consensus. They want the election to take place. They want to test their strength on the electoral battlefield. So be it. Let them go and slug it out. Stop trying to bring consensus agreement that people will not agree to.
Since politics is defined as getting what, where, when, and how, then the clamor for various interests will heighten during election seasons. The wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, has urged political parties and the 2023 presidential aspirants to pick women as running mates while hosting the presidential aspirants from various political parties in an iftar at the State House, Abuja. Aisha Buhari said this is necessary considering the voting strength and active involvement of women in the political processes. Meanwhile, the immediate past Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, has asked the federal government to name the headquarters of the Northeast Development Commission, NEDC, after Aisha Buhari, saying her interventions made the agency a reality. So the wife of the president actually hosted this presidential aspirants.
On the platform of the APC?
No, I think it was a bipartisan thing.
Okay.
When I saw the Bauchi state governor there, so I know it's a sitting PDP governor.
Open to all aspirants, everybody. Not even PDP
aspirants.
and
I think what really happened was that she's trying to push forward the women agenda when it comes to positions in the nation's economy. We've never had a female vice president. And she thought that it would be the best way to tell whoever emerges as a candidate that it will be in the interest of everybody if they could just for once elect or select a woman to become the vice president of the Federal Republic. It's a germane reason. There's nothing wrong with it. All over the world, people are trying to empower women. The irony of this matter is quite funny. The world is made of more women in this world than men. Yet, there's nothing to get together to use this power, this majority status, to do something for themselves. Remember what happened in the House when they were talking about making sure that certain seats were reserved for women. Mm-hmm. And people went against it. And some even voted against it, I'm sure. Some will be women. It is that bad than what we are looking at. We need to create a situation where it will be an open field. But just like we are looking for, trying to bring in young people into politics, we also need to do things for women. And I think the First Lady is just trying to put her heart in that ring to ensure that whoever emerges can give whatever she's asking a thought.
But Julie, what's Ms. Buhari trying to do?
Well, she just used the opportunity to push our own agenda for more inclusive representation of women in the leadership process. There is a court judgment recently directing them to give 35% of those appointive positions to women. But the president's wife will not stop at that. The president's wife wants political parties to give more positions to women. She wants the aspirants to consider making women their running mates. And I don't think it's such a bad idea, because we've seen women who are given the opportunity use it very well. People like Okonjo-Iweala, they've shown us that there are capable women that would do a good job if given the opportunity. We've seen Obi Ezekwesili. For a short period, she was Minister of Education. She did very well. So, and there are so many of them like that.
The late Akinyuli.
Yes, Dora Akunyili. Obasanjo never knew Akunyili from Adam. People just told her that, look, in one corner in that office, there is a very honest woman who traveled abroad, for a course and came back home. She did not spend all the money that she was given. Some other people would have found a way to spend that money and just come and do retirement and all that. But here was Akunyili. She didn't think she should do that. And when it was time for God to reward her honesty, it came through through President Obasanjo, So I think that we need to give the women more opportunities. A situation in which you look at the whole of the Northwest, only one woman in the House of Assembly. Northwest, where we have 7 states.
What?
Yes. They are the only geopolitical zone with 7 states. And only one woman throughout. They need to do better than that. Women are
Does it have anything to do with culture or religion?
Culture is a big part of it. Before now, historians will tell you that women were not even allowed to vote. People like Gambo Sawaba, this was what they fought for. Let's have women voting. Let's not get in the way, so that they can be part of the making the choice of leaders. So I think that the other amendment failed for obvious reasons, because what they said was, okay, let's have, if you are saying there should be one extra senatorial seat, which constituency should that person come from? I think they didn't define that clearly. People like Abaribe, who came out, said the question is which constituency will that person be representing? Or will the person be representing the entire state? That was not
the
defined.
women in the states.
Yes, that was not defined. So maybe in future they could bring this back in another form, you know, and see how
they should spell it out.
Yeah, because I know in
Rwanda has Rwanda has more women
in parliament,
in government than any country in the world. No, they are the number one in the world, Rwanda.
I do know that in Kenya,
so
they have things for the women.
Yeah, yes, but if we are saying, okay, go to the National Assembly, go to the House of Assembly, because that was the
original,
that was the plan. Now they are saying, okay, that woman, which constituency, because the state has been divided into 3 senatorial zones.
Yeah.
So the 4th person, which zone will she be representing? I think that created a problem. So it made it difficult for some people to agree, because they need to understand what they are agreeing to. Let's face it. Now, this kind of request has to be brought back in another way. Maybe in crafting another bill in future, they have to do it in a manner that everyone will understand, and it will be easier to convince the men. I don't think that it's a case of those guys not wanting to do it, but they didn't understand how to.
And there are many ways we could do it.
I think we've left the era of, you know, making it, saying that women should always keep quiet and they should be watching from the back, and they should, you know, I think the world is, after the Beijing 1995 convention and a lot of exploits. Even in our own history, we have Amino now, and we have Morimi, and even the Queen that took on the Queen that took on the Catholic Church and created what now is known as the Anglican Church. Well, people must realize that life is dynamic, and everything is moving according to the dictates of the times. Like I said, in some countries, for me, I would have preferred that for the Federal Executive Council, the extra minister that was taken from each region should be women. Okay. That should be a start. 6 of them automatically be members of the Federal Executive Council. And the same thing could happen that the Executive Council of the
Minister of State, for example,
should be women.
Yes.
Or even in the House of Assembly.
That one is easy to
implement. Because it's obvious that, okay, we've taken your cabinet.
When they say that, so why the second fiddle?
Not second fiddle.
No, there's no second fiddle.
Women will be elected.
The Constitution does not see any ministers. There's no such thing as a junior minister. And they don't address them as such. They just address the Minister of State. But the Constitution, they earn the same salary. The Constitution does not see anyone as junior to another. If it's in some countries, they say junior minister. No, there's no such thing. By our own Constitution, they are all equal. They are all mates.
Since they are representing 36 states.
Yes, they are all, and each state must be represented.
Yeah. And since you also make sure that zones are represented. Let's take that, the first 6. And then the executive committees of the Senate and the House of Reps should also do the same.
So they can try principal officers. For example, they can split the principal officers. After all, you see some of them deputy whip, deputy this. No, they can even take deputy and
give it to the women.
That way you are grooming them.
To become
in future, some of them will be found good enough to.
Those are things that do not require constitutional.
Yes, but even if we want to use the Constitution, I don't think some of those states that we are talking about. I don't think they made it a constitutional thing. No. They just made up their minds that this is what they want to do. But if we even want to use the Constitution, it has to be done in such a way that the constituency that the person is representing will be clear. Because there's nobody who is in the National Assembly who does not have a constituency.
Representing someone.
And if the various constituencies have been delineated and each of them have been captured, there's no way you can bring a person and say his own constituency or her own constituency is the whole state.
That's like an extra governor.
Yes, that's the confusion that is there. If you are saying, okay, you say Kwara South is a woman. We know that. But I think this was a problem for them. Even me, I sat down because I supported it, I pushed for it. But when I sat down, I could see the argument that how do we reconcile this in the light of the stipulations in the Constitution? How do we do it?
Let them put women in leadership positions within the confines of the current Constitution. That will be a start.
Yeah, as a starting point.
Thank you. Osara Ganika Edubalogo.
Yeah.
Thank you for your contribution. And the master himself, Mikhail, thank you for always being there. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. And join us on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. for Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Osubakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.